It's game day. Not expected much from LSU, Nicholls, but what should you be watching? We'll tell you. It's Locked on LSU. Let's go.
You are Locked on LSU, your daily podcast on the LSU Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay, let's get it. It is Locked on LSU, your team every day. I'm your host, Matt Moscona. Glad to have you aboard with us here. Thanks for making us your first listen. We are free, available wherever you get great podcasts. So please subscribe. And if you're on YouTube, thanks for being there as well. It is game day for LSU and Nicholls. I'll give you a score prediction. Nicholls head coach Tim Rebowe. Had a chance to visit with him. Let's hear some of the tidbits that Coach Rebowe had to say whenever I had my chance to visit with him about this ball game. I think flattering for LSU fans, and you're going to like Tim Rebowe if you don't know him or of him. But that's coming up here. It'll be LSU Nicholls, a 6:30 kickoff in Tiger Stadium. Keeping an eye on the sky, of course. Expected to rain all day in Baton Rouge on game day, which is a bummer considering it is the home opener. People love to tailgate. You plan these 7 or 8 football Saturdays, your whole year around them, the opportunity to get out with friends and to be able to tailgate and watch the band come down the hill and the team come down the hill and go into Tiger Stadium and yell and scream and cheer and do all that fun stuff. But the weather looks like it's going to be pretty nasty. However, it looks like the rain will probably clear this evening in time for kickoff and that it should be pretty pleasant in Tiger Stadium. And the temps may actually cooperate as well. Not that you need me to sit here and be a forecaster for you, but it looks like our high is only 86 and you're probably going to get temps in the low 70s as well. So for an early September game in Tiger Stadium, not too shabby, although the raindrops may mess with your tailgate a little bit. I got 5 things that I'm watching in this game. And I understand there's no reason to be super pumped about this. LSU's coming off a loss. You got an FCS opponent coming in. The spread is 49. So I fully understand why vibes aren't going to be immaculate. But it is the first home game of the season. It is LSU's opportunity to bounce back in just 6 days after losing to USC. And it is a tune-up opportunity before you go on the road in 7 days to play your SEC opener at South Carolina, a place that LSU just doesn't play very often. So you certainly want to improve. And Brian Kelly said it earlier this week. It's cliche, but it's cliche for a reason, because it's true. Biggest improvement week 1 to week 2. So let's see how much better LSU can be. First and foremost, the number one thing that I'm watching is health. And I don't mean to oversimplify it, y'all, but nobody wants to see these games played. Nobody wakes up on schedule release day and is just pumped that LSU's playing Nicholls. And it's not a knock on Nicholls. I cheer for the in-state schools. I want them to do well. But this isn't the game that's going to get people excited. You and I both well know that. So the most important thing is to come out of this game healthy. I'll remind you, a year ago against Army in November, on the last play of the first half, Zy Alexander was contesting a pass right around midfield on a deep ball at the end of the half, got tangled, tore his ACL. He missed the remainder of the season and still isn't back. However, that is one thing worth keeping an eye on is Zy Alexander. As Brian Kelly said, he'll be out there on special teams this weekend. And over the next 4 weeks, they're going to ramp up his participation in hopes of getting him back to form of a year ago. And he might be one of the answers in solidifying that secondary once you get to October in the meat of SEC play. But number one is health. You want to leave this game Saturday healthy. Aside from that, I would tell you the thing I'm most interested in seeing is Ricky Collins. Ricky Collins, of course, from Baton Rouge. He was a 4-star prospect who played at Woodlawn, played for Marcus Randall, former LSU quarterback. And I got to see Ricky Collins play at Woodlawn, went to Catholic High in Baton Rouge and the same district they played every year. And I watched Ricky Collins throw and run and be the best player on the field in against a team, a Catholic, who's filled with D1 prospects. He was a fantastic player, one of the top 10 players in the state for the class of 2023. 17 touchdowns, nearly 600 rushing yards as well. He was a fantastic high school football player who was a finalist at the Elite 11 as well. And, the thing about Ricky is when you see him and AJ Swan side by side, it's just a very noticeable talent difference. And I don't know who is going to be the first quarterback off the bench. I don't know if whenever LSU has a comfortable lead and they pull Garrett Nussmeier, if it's Ricky Collins or A.J. Swan that goes in next. My guess is Ricky Collins, but I'm not interested in seeing A.J. Swan because A.J. Swan has a much lower ceiling. He's going to be a guy that dinks and dunks. It's going to be accurate. He started games in the SEC at Vanderbilt, so he's kind of a security blanket. But Ricky Collins has the physical ability that gives him a much higher ceiling. He's a guy who has an electric arm. There's a beautiful deep ball. The very first day of fall camp, he threw an absolutely immaculate deep touchdown pass to freshman Colin Billiot. And you can just see the release point with his hand. It's just interesting when you see these guys side by side throwing. Sometimes it just looks different. It looks different with Ricky Collins. And he is by a mile your most athletic quarterback who adds the dimension of a rusher. Now, we just haven't seen Ricky Collins play. He played one game as a freshman against Grambling. He threw 2 passes, completed them both for 3 yards. So 1 pass for 2 yards, 1 pass for 1 yard. He did run 3 times for 19 yards. And that's the dimension Ricky Collins has that the other guys don't. So I want to see Ricky Collins. Number 3 of my 5 is the running back position. And maybe I'm actually slow playing a little by putting it 3rd. But Brian Kelly said this week that the running game, he believes, will become not only the strength of the offense, but the strength of the entire team. Those are Brian Kelly's words, not mine. Said that on Thursday evening. Well, you've got 2 guys that you know in Josh Williams and Caleb Jackson, and you want to get them and their ACLs out of the game as quickly as possible, not only to keep them healthy, but also because after those 2, the other 2 guys are true freshman Caden Durham and true freshman Juwan Johnson. And if you missed the episode from earlier this week, we mentioned it point blank. Juwan Johnson is only playing running back now because of John Emery's torn ACL. Juwan Johnson was a high school quarterback at Lafayette Christian, a record-setting quarterback, set the LHSAA record for yards in a career and touchdowns in a career. Well, now he did spend the entire fall camp at cornerback and at the star position. Now he's moving to running back. By the way, Juwan Johnson has switched his number from 24 to 8. Of course, on the defensive side of the ball, Major Burns wears 8, so he couldn't be 8. He was wearing 24. Now that he's moving to the offensive side, he's not going to be on the field at the same time potentially as Major Burns, so he can wear number 8. So we're going to see Juwan Johnson, 5'11", 203-pound freshman, and of course, Caden Durham, the freshman out of Texas. Caden Durham, 5'9", 205. Excuse me, I said Texas. He's out of Duncanville, in Oklahoma City. And I'm sorry. His hometown is Oklahoma City. He prepped at Duncanville in Texas. Forgive me. But he was one of the top running backs in the country. He was a consensus 4-star, the number 8 running back, the number 19 overall prospect in the state of Texas. He's a guy who in the state championship game in 6A in Texas ran for 243 yards and 3 touchdowns. Y'all, he's got it in him. There's no doubt that Caden Durham can be that guy. He can be a special lead back. He just needs reps. So Durham and Juwan Johnson, I think they get the entire second half, maybe even see some time before then. Let's see how that looks when both of them get their first reps as running backs at LSU. Not only does that mean something for this game, but it's going to show Brian Kelly and his staff if they feel like they can count on those guys if you need them next week in South Carolina. Number 4 is the guys replacing injured starters, and that would be Tyree Adams and Shelton Sampson. And Sampson is a little bit of a winding road, as we know. But Tyree Adams is a second-year player. Of course, a year ago, Tyree Adams came to LSU and redshirted. And he's a guy out of the New Orleans area who this year, in his second season, has been backing up Will Campbell at left tackle. So all throughout fall camp, whenever they were going first team, second team, Tyree Adams was your second team left tackle backing up Will Campbell. Now, I don't know, and if something happened, knock on wood, to Will Campbell, I don't know that Tyree Adams goes in at left tackle. It's conceivable they could move Emory Jones from right tackle to left tackle and then maybe put Tyree Adams or somebody else on the right side. That's inconsequential. Hopefully we never have to answer that question. But what we have learned is that Tyree Adams is their 6th lineman because Garrett Dellinger's questionable for the game. And if he doesn't go, then Tyree Adams is likely going to start at right guard. Tyree Adams, of course, from Marrero, who went to St. Aug. So no doubt he had a lot of run-ins a year ago, or I guess a couple of years ago, I would say, with with Jakeem Stewart when he was a freshman, a dynamic young player there at St. Aug, who's now leaving St. Aug. But I digress. Adams is 6'7", 313. He's athletic and he has flashed. He won reps in pass rush drills against guys like Deshaun Womack, a former 5-star, starters on the defensive line. There were times where he struggled, but you can tell the flash, the upside is there for Tyree Adams, and he's their sixth guy. So if Garrett Dellinger can't play, Tyree Adams likely draws the start at right guard, and there's just no replacing experience. There's no replacing the experience of running out there on the first play with the first team offense when the stadium's full and getting that first hit in. We saw Emory Jones and Will Campbell do it as true freshmen. We saw Lance Hurd get a chance to do it last year when Emory Jones was injured. He got to play a ton against Grambling. So I am excited to see Tyree Adams. I think he'll start if Garrett Dellinger doesn't go, and there's no sense in playing Garrett Dellinger. Shelton Sampson at the X, it's his time. And X would be out wide, right? So not in the slot. With Chris Hilton unable to go and Kyle Parker, who replaced Chris Hilton, also unable to go with the elbow injury, the UCL, it's Shelton Sampson's time. And Brian Kelly said at point blank, they got to get Shelton Sampson ready to roll. He was a 5-star. The very first, not only the first day, the first period of fall camp that we, the media, got to see, we saw not one but two plays back-to-back where Garrett Nussmeier threw deep balls down the right sideline to Shelton Sampson that he completed acrobatic catches in traffic. That's the kind of thing that he wasn't able to do a year ago. Sometimes drops, sometimes the inability to be a physical receiver when faced with more physical defensive backs. Shelton Sampson, this is his time. He will be athletically superior to everybody that tries to guard him from Nicholls. This should be a big game for number 6, Shelton Sampson. And fifth, I'll tell you, I want to keep an eye on these young defensive linemen. Don McKinley was a 5-star, the number 1 player in the state of Louisiana. He's a true freshman. You all know that by now. He wears number 96. And, a week ago against USC, LSU is obviously leaning heavy on its veteran presence. You saw Gio Paez, you saw Jacobian Guillory and Jalen Lee and Sean Washington. This is going to be an opportunity for some of those younger defensive linemen like Dominic McKinley to get a lot of run. Let's see how the coaching from Bo Davis is transferred. Remember, I had a chance to talk to Dominic McKinley a few months back, and I asked him point blank what he wanted to work on. He said technique. He said, I need to work on my hand placement. I'm still getting too high out of my stance. I need to work on my technique. Bo Davis knows it. He's worked very hard in fall camp from what we got to see with Dom McKinley, and I'd love to put eyes on him. And then I'm going to tell you this, y'all, you're an LSU fan, you're watching the game. If you happen to be there watching still in the second half, which I'm sure many of you are, keep an eye out for Gabe Relaford and Kalaj Cobbins. I am just telling you, we keep looking at LSU and you look at them defensively and you look at the talent, you say it just doesn't look like it did when LSU had all these All-Americans and this and that. And I agree with you. It doesn't. There's players that don't look like they used to when LSU had All-Americans all over the field. I'm telling you, Gabe Relaford and Kalaj Cobbins are what it's supposed to look like. Relaford, 6'2", 270 out of Evangel. He plays defensive end. Kalaj Cobbins, he's going to, by the way, Relaford wears number 19. Kalaj Cobbins is wearing number 48, 6'2", 233. He's more that, he's listed as a defensive end, but he's more that athletic edge. Not as tall as, but think Barkevius Mingo, a little more slender, but speedster. I'm telling you, all throughout fall camp, when we would watch pass rush drills, those guys were unblockable. Those two true freshmen were beating veteran players with the twos. Those two guys are going to be special at LSU, and this is going to be your first chance to see them with extended action. Relaford, number 19, Cobbins, number 48. Keep an eye out for them when the second and third defensive units go out there, because I have a feeling you're going to be awed when you see them make the plays. And something you're going to hear from Tim Rebowe as well in just a bit, this isn't exactly the best Nicholls State offensive line, so there's going to be a lot of plays to be had for this LSU defensive front seven. I think those two young guys are going to make plenty of them. So just a handful of things that I'm watching. Hey, if you're listening on a podcast or watching on YouTube, drop in the comments. Let me know what you're watching for LSU and Nicholls. I mentioned Tim Rebowe. Had a chance to talk to the head man of the Colonels in his 10th season down on the Bayou. I'll let you hear a few snippets of what he had to say as we continue Locked on LSU, your team every day. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. And we're also brought to you by Factor Meals. I have told you my personal experience with Factor, and they love to tell you to fuel up with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. You can meet wellness goals thanks to the menu of chef-crafted meals with options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. It's fresh and never frozen, ready in 2 minutes. So no matter how busy you are, you've always got time to enjoy nutritious, great tasting meals. Okay, like that's the copy points, and I could sit here and read a script, or I could just tell you my experience. I am a meal prep service guy. I've subscribed to them for years, and it's always a struggle. I have subscribed to probably 5 meal prep services over the years. Some of them are convenient, but they don't taste great. Some of them are cheap, but they don't taste great. Some of them taste pretty good, but they're frozen. You know, it's not always great. I'm telling you, Factor is by a country mile the best meal prep service I have ever used, and I used it before I started doing these reads on Locked On LSU. They've got 35 different meals, more than 60 add-ons to choose from. So you get a ton of new flavors each week to explore. You can crush your wellness goal. Listen, they'll pick the menu for you, or you can select what you want. I'll tell you the thing I love, and I use the keto, is that it does change each week, so I don't get bored eating the same foods. I love the convenience. I love how great it tastes, how fresh it is. Y'all, I have tried a lot of bad meal service foods just for the convenience. I work a lot every day of my work life. I eat at my desk when I have the time to eat lunch. When I walk in the door, I eat dinner very quickly, and then it's on to the night routine of taking care of my son and, dinner time, bath time, all that stuff, and then recording Locked On LSU every night. I just don't have a lot of time to sit and cook or a lot of time to spend preparing and eating. Factor is convenient, it tastes great, and it's affordable. I would highly, highly, highly recommend it. If you want convenience and something that tastes great, stop going through the drive-thru line, try Factor, and this is a great opportunity to do it. Go to factormeals.com/lockedoncollege50. Again, factormeals.com/lockedoncollege50. Use the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE50 at factormeals.com/lockedoncollege50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. I should also mention you can choose how many meals you want to get as well. If you want 7 meals, if you want 10 meals, whatever the number is that best suits your schedule, you can choose the number of meals you get. I'm telling you, it's great. Try it. It's Factor. Go to factormeals.com/lockedoncollege50. Factormeals.com/lockedoncollege50. I'll give you a prediction for LSU and Nicholls, but I did have a chance to visit with Tim Rebowe, who, if you've never heard from Tim Rebowe, listen to him, know anything about him, boy, he is really a fantastic head football coach. And it's been so fun to watch his Nicholls Colonels have this success. And, so many guys who play at Nicholls grow up wanting to play for LSU, and they get to play these games from time to time against TCU and Colorado and Texas A&M, these Power 5 games. Nicholls beat Kansas a few years ago. They played Kansas State, and I asked him if it meant more for his guys getting to play against LSU.
Absolutely. I mean, look, you said we have 90-something. I think we got like 93 players from Louisiana. Well, of course, they all grew up, I think the majority, LSU, wanting to play in Tiger Stadium. They know what it is. So to get a chance to go back to play the flagship school, the state school, right here in the backyard, I think it's going to be exciting for them. And you know what it's going to do to all the parents, all the people working up and down the river, all the stuff that's been going on, all the tailgating. I think it's a win-win situation for us.
Tim Rebowe is in his 10th season at Nicholls. and he inherited a program that was in bad shape. He's won 3 conference titles, including last year. He's a really good coach and an easy guy to cheer for. And he's also been around the state. He's coached in Lafayette. He's coached at Monroe. And he's been at Tiger Stadium as a visitor 3 times. And I asked him what that experience was like.
Listen, great venue, great place to play. I do think this. It's not like I was at the University of Alabama and the Crimson Tide is coming into Tiger Stadium. You know, it's not A&M coming into there when we came in. And it's going to be the same thing this weekend. It's going to be loud. They're going to be getting on us. You know, but when you have the first kickoff and you go down there and you make that first hit, I think some of that's going to wear off. And I don't know if they're going to be as loud. Well, I shouldn't say that. I don't know if they're going to be as loud as they would be. hey, we get down in the south end zone. Who knows, huh?
Yeah, man. It sounds like you've been down to that south end zone a few times. He's a lot of fun. Again, an easy guy to like and cheer for. Of course, cheer for the in-state schools, but he knows what he's up against. But he has a great team. This might be his best team. In the preseason all-conference, by the way, Nicholls was picked by the coaches to win the Southland this year. He had 12 first-team all-conference players. Let me say that again. Nicholls, of the first-team offense, defense, special teams, 12 first-team all-conference, by a mile the most in the league. And I asked Tim Rebowe if this was his best team in 10 years at Nicholls.
It might be the best. We were talking about it the other day, too. Might be one of the best defensive teams we've had since we've been here. And we've had some marquee players, say across the defensive line with Sully Lesh and linebackers Alan Pittman, but, not as many. We're deep across the line, linebackers, depth in the secondary. We can really run. I really like our defense. And probably not, we got some skill guys, but not as loaded on the offensive line as we are on the other side of the ball.
Might be a good opportunity for LSU's defensive front 7 to take command of this game if that Nicholls offensive line can't hold up. I think LSU wins this game 52-10. It shouldn't be close. I do think Nicholls will score, but I think it's a great opportunity for LSU to go play a clean game, hopefully, get a lot of young players experience, stay healthy, improve, and get on to the next week in Columbia against South Carolina. And certainly we'll wish Tim Rebowe and Nicholls well the rest of the way as a Colonels. Try to make it back-to-back Southland Conference championships. Okay, that'll do it for us here on Locked on LSU. If you're on podcast, please subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Rate us, leave a review. If you're on YouTube, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell. So, smash the like button, hit the bell so you're notified whenever we post a new video or go live, and let a friend know that if they love the Tigers, we got you here every single day for Locked on LSU, your team every day.